Hey everybody, how's it going? It's the Daily Shooter. And I was at Walmart the other day and I was standing in line at the ammo counter and there was a nice older gentleman behind me and we'd kind of started talking, and through our conversation we had asked each other what we were there to get. And he said he was there to get a few boxes of the Federal 9mm that they had in, and they had a ton of it. It was just this standard stuff, the Federal 115 grain full metal jacket round nose 9mm. And he asked what I was there to get. And I was there to get some self-defense ammunition, some hollow points to train with. And he said, why do you spend so much money on 20 rounds when, this stuff will kill somebody just as good? And he kind of laughed at me, thought it was funny. It was like $24 for a box of 20 rounds of these hollow points, these Federal hollow points. And, we kind of talked about it a little bit, and I think he kind of saw my point. He didn't really understand the whole purpose of spending that much money on a hollow point. He's like, if I shoot somebody with the full metal jacket, they're going to die just as much. There's only one kind of death. So, anyway, after talking to the guy, I think he did kind of get my point, but he really brought up a good topic because after talking to my father-in-law, he kind of had the same thought process. He owns no self-defense ammunition. All he owns is full metal jacket, and to him, it's just the fact that if somebody breaks into his house, he's going to shoot him. And that's kind of where it stops for him. He doesn't see the need for anything more than that. Oh, it's just gimmicky stuff, right? So I thought, you know what, that's a really good video topic. I just want to talk about some of the differences between using a full metal jacket for self-defense versus a jacketed hollow point or some other variations that are out there. Now, I'm not really going to touch on the whole home defense thing where, as far as over-penetration, under-penetration, and things like that, pretty much just the lethality of these two rounds. Now, when it comes to, the lethality of these two rounds, to me, there is a massive difference. What we're trying to attain in a hollow point is expansion. That is the primary use of a hollow point bullet. It's to make that 9mm bullet larger as it enters soft tissue. Now what I have here are some examples of some self-defense ammunition, and each one is a little bit different. Okay, I have some Federal Premium 124 grain standard hollow point, some Hornady. This is a 115 grain SXT bullet, which is pretty much their standard hollow point. I have the Hornady Critical Duty. This is a 135 grain, and it has the polymer tip on it, which allows for better expansion, and does allows. There's a lot of differences which I'll go over, but it keeps the tip from being clogged as well, and I'll come back to that. Here we have the Atomic 124 grain fragmenting ammunition. And what this does, instead of the hollow point just opening up and remaining attached to the bullet itself, the projectile, it shoots off in different directions and creates separate wound cavities and wound channels. So, looking at these different types of 9mm self-defense ammunition, you could see that they're all tailored to create more damage than your standard round. Now, the standard round, the problem that you have with using this as self-defense ammunition is that the energy, when it hits soft tissue, doesn't dissipate as fast. It's not transferred into the soft tissue as quickly as some of these self-defense rounds. What happens is the energy transmits through the soft tissue, and in most cases will penetrate out the other side of the soft tissue without allowing its full kinetic energy to be left behind. Okay, so that's a lot of the problem is if you shoot a person with the standard full metal jacket, what you're going to get is a bullet that's more than likely going to just pass right through without creating a huge wound cavity, or let's say without hitting a vital organ. It's more than likely just going to pass through with minimal damage. It may not be a mortal wound, and that is the objective of all of these different ammo types that you see in front of you. The goal is to create a mortal wound. These are not nice rounds. These are not rounds that are meant for plinking, or target shooting. These rounds, even though it sounds ugly, are meant to kill. And so that they're designed that way. Now, let's look at these three rounds right here. These three rounds right here, their intention is to become as large as possible and give up all of that kinetic energy as fast as possible while still maintaining as much penetration as possible in order to cause that mortal wound. So if you have something like these three ammos right here that are designed to flower petal open and drop that kinetic energy, what you're doing is you're turning a standard 9mm bullet into something much larger. In some cases, I've seen it up to a ½ an inch in expansion. And so these are tailored to create a large wound cavity, and if it even misses a vital organ, the expansion, the transfer of kinetic energy is going to create a wound cavity large enough to where it's going to stop whatever threat that it encounters. And that's the purpose of spending so much money, is that these companies have invested their money, their time, into creating technology that will work better to protect you. And so that's kind of where you see the Hornady in these two. And that's where it's developed. This is the Hornady, the standard classic SXT bullet, which is really just Hornady's hollow point round. I've done some testing on this. Works really great. Expansion seems to be uniform. The jacket stays connected to the lead core, and that's really nice. It's a good round. It's a lot less expensive than the round that's next to it, which they've applied a lot more technology to. And now with this rubber tip that they've put in there, okay, it allows the bullet to penetrate further while still opening up the inner cavity of the hollow point, so creating that wound cavity, releasing some of that kinetic energy, and at the same time allowing the penetration that will probably achieve a mortal wound over something that may stop a little bit sooner. Now again, I'm not going to address the over penetration as far as using some of these for home defense, just the capability to create a mortal wound. Moving across, and by the way, you'll see here too that there's differences in casing as well. You'll see that these two over here both have brass colored casings, and these are nickel plated casings on this side, and there's a lot of differences for those two. The nickel plated casing will last a lot longer. If you're going to be carrying your weapon and you have something that's nickel plated brass, it's going to be a lot less corrosion resistant. Also, it's a little bit easier to see when you're doing chamber checks, especially chamber checks at night, things like that. So you do have different technologies that surpass your standard round nose bullet. Okay, and then you come over here to this atomic. I've also done some testing on this atomic, and let me tell you, it's pretty impressive. What happens here is that the hollow point, as it fills up with tissue, the kinetic energy that it gives off forces the petals, and there's 5 different petals that come flying off the tip of this bullet in 5 different directions. And what they're saying, or what the company basically is saying, is that you have the one slug that's left behind, which is the part that does not open, that's still in the casing there, that goes straight where you put it. Okay, so you're getting the penetration out of that. What you're getting out of those 5 petals is direction, meaning that any vital organs that you may have missed that were near the original shot have a more than likely chance of being hit by one of those petals. So if you hit an artery or something like that, it's going to create that mortal wound. And so that's basically what these are all for. And so, we kind of talked about it, and he was real friendly and everything else. But his basic idea of things was, somebody breaks into my house, and they're a threat to my life or my family's life. I'm going to shoot them, and this is fine. And I think he kind of saw my point that, you know what, don't be afraid of the technology that has advanced this into something like this. And yes, it costs a lot more money, quite a lot more. In reality, we can get this for maybe 20 cents or less, 15 cents per round, and these are going to cost you $1 plus per round. You're not going to shoot these. You're not going to shoot these as much as you shoot these. These are going to be more for practice. Getting out there, becoming proficient with your firearm, becoming a little bit more confident when you're shooting, and then these are what you load in there when you need it to be your defensive gun, be it your nightstand gun, your carry gun, whatever it might be. And you know what? I just thought that was a really interesting topic, an interesting conversation. It seemed like a couple of the people that I had talked to thought the same way. A bullet's going to kill somebody. Well, that's absolutely right. You get shot by this, I'm not saying you're going to live. I mean, there's a very high chance that you're going to die if you're shot with a full metal jacket bullet. It's really bad news. I'm not saying stand in front of one by any means at all. but the technology that's based in here is designed to do it better. That's pretty much all I'm saying. So anyway, guys, thanks for watching the video. Please like, subscribe, and share. You guys have a great day.